Coming up on this episode of Sports Path, we've got some exciting playoff action to bring you.
Two Fab Four schools going head-to-head in a football section championship game with the state tournament bid on the line. You can barely see the field with all that snow.
Also, we've got an exciting volleyball matchup in the Section 4 3A Finals. We've been anticipating this one all season. We'll get you all caught up on that and more as we take you down the Sports Path. Well, hey everybody, welcome to Sports Path. Sam Erickson joined alongside my partner John Miller as always. And as we talked about in the open, we've got a lot of exciting playoff game highlights to bring you and standing as well. And we got a pretty packed show, John, so we should probably get into it.
Oh, yeah, Sam. Well, we were on hand for the Snow Bowl of 2017 where Mahtomedi took on Tartan in the section championship of a 5A football game.
Yeah, and we can't wait to show you those highlights. We did a lacrosse game last spring where we thought there would be snow on the ground, but we were wrong, and it all melted by the time the game started. But there was definitely snow this time at that football game.
Yeah, so we didn't come up with the snow in last spring's game. We finally brought it to you a few weeks ago. So we came up with our promise. All right, so now we'll go with Mahtomedi's girls soccer is doing big things. This is absolutely fantastic school at whatever sport they play. It seems like they're up for state no matter where they are. In fact, Mahtomedi is doing very well in the fall postseason in general. I mean, I can't believe the fall season is already coming to a close. But, you know, I'm excited for basketball season. And it's crazy that high school football, you know, my favorite sport, is already coming to a close, Sam.
It always goes really fast. And just like Sports Path, we don't have a whole lot of time. Got to move fast as well. So let's get into our favorite segment full of some of the best social media highlights of the week. It's time for the social media montage. All right, to start off this week's social media montage, found this little tweet from the Zephyr Lacrosse Twitter page. Whoever controls the account was recently at the old Mall of America and found an interesting statuette of a lacrosse player. Almost looks like a Mahtomedi lacrosse player.
Yeah, look at it, Sam. The M is on the front of the jersey, and it's even got the same colors. How neat.
Yeah, and looking at the roster from the past spring, looks like it might be Ryan Pilla. This looks like it was from the Me 3D store in the Mall of America. Not sure if Ryan was actually down there to get a statuette of himself or what. If not, he should probably run down there and snatch this one up because the resemblance is uncanny.
Yeah, how cool would that be to go to a store and see a statuette of yourself?
Yeah, I don't care who you are. You're a Mahtomedi lacrosse fan. You should grab that right there. Nice looking piece.
Yeah, all right. Well, next up, we have a tweet from the school district about the White Bear cross country teams. Looks like both the boys and the girls teams both participated in the state tournament. So congrats to White Bear Lake cross country.
Yeah, nice job there. Good crowd on hand for that one. Finally, we have a tweet from Star Tribune Sports. We're going big time. They posted a link to a great article about the Mahtomedi girls soccer team winning the state tournament. They were kind of underdogs against the powerhouse Orono. So great article from the Star Tribune. Go read it for yourself to see how the game went there. And we are just about wrapped up for this segment, but we want to remind you to tag us in your Twitter post at SamSCCTV or at JohnSCCTV if you want your tweet featured right here on Sports Path. And well, John, I guess that'll do it for this week's social media montage.
All right, well, before we get you into the Snow Bowl of 2017, let's get you caught up on how Tartan and Mahtomedi both got there. Looking at Tartan, they beat North St. Paul in the opening round, and then they went on to play St. Paul Highland Park, where they won handily. Then after a 3-5 regular season record, it was really kind of a shock that they won both games by as much as they did. Now looking at Mahtomedi, they got an opening round bye, so in the second round they played Minneapolis Washburn, who they absolutely destroyed, which would set up for a Fab 4 showdown, which we're going to have the clips for you right here.
Minnesota has turned to the Snow Bowl as the Tartan Titans in the
All right, so we're taking to Mahtomedi Stadium where Mahtomedi took on Tartans in the 4-5A section championship. Snow on the ground to start the game. In fact, we showed up to 3 inches of snow on the ground and no one else was on the field. Crews arrived short time later. Lots of dust clearing, lots of snow clearing. Well, this game remained scoreless into the 4th quarter, probably because of that cold and the snow. Until the 4th quarter, Tartan had some rushes where we thought they would score, but Mahtomedi ends up recovering a fumble to put them in scoring position at the 20. And this would be the Brandon Anderson show in the 4th quarter as he would run this one on the outside. He would hit the corner to get some points on the scoreboard. Tartan goes up 7-0 after Timmy Lindquist gets the extra point. The crowd is going nuts after they were asleep for all 3 quarters of a 0-0 game. Mahtomedi will find themselves on the scoreboard again on their next drive. Anderson once again takes it on the sideline for a huge gain of 33 yards to the end zone. Lindquist gets the extra point again. It's a 14-0 game. And that would be your final scores. Mahtomedi takes it 14-0. Tartan looked like they could get on the board a few times during that second half, but short runs just couldn't get them into the end zone. So Mahtomedi moves on to the state tournament. Tartan is yet to get a win in school history at Mahtomedi's field.
Wow, so lots of missed opportunities there for Tartan and a well-executed game by Mahtomedi. Congrats to the Zephyrs as they move on to the state tournament. I think we're going to take a look at that bracket, John.
Yeah, well, let's see how Mahtomedi did in the state tournament. As Sam just said, they took on Owatonna, who was 7-1 in the regular season and ranked number 8 in 5A. That would put them one behind Mahtomedi, who was ranked 7th. Not a pretty game for Mahtomedi, as they had no answer for Owatonna running back Jason Williamson. He had 34 rushes for 262 yards. Get this, he had not 1, not 5, but 7 rushing touchdowns. Tied 7-7 after the first quarter. Mahtomedi had no chance after that, and Owatonna wins this one by a huge margin of 59-34. But, you know, congratulations is in order to, for that great season that Mahtomedi have. You have a lot to be proud of. A state tournament bid is not a small thing, Sam.
Yeah, great season. Congratulations to Coach Metzel, who was nice enough to join us on our last episode. How about that kid running from Owatonna? Might have to tune in and watch them play as the state tournament rolls on. But the Zephyr football team isn't the only team at Mahtomedi doing big things this fall. The Mahtomedi girls soccer team won Section 4 and made it to the state tournament themselves. We saw that they defeated Bemidji and North Branch in their first 2 rounds of the state tournament to get a shot at the title against #1 seed Orono. Well, the Zephyrs got the huge upset thanks to a game-winning goal from Grace Paddleford. What an amazing season, and you really got to give props to a team that played great down the stretch and found a way to win every game. And with all that success this fall at US Bank Stadium must have felt like a second home for a lot of Mahtomedi fans.
Yeah, I mean, you got to like having your second home be US Bank Stadium. All right, now we'll look at the end of the season standing for boys soccer. For the Mahtomedi side of things, they had a strong season, but were upset in the section semis by Como Park. North St. Paul fell short of a Metro East title and were upended by White Bear in section playoffs. The Bears played pretty well late in the season and were rewarded with the upset victory in sections. Unfortunately, no state tournament or titles for your Fab Four on the boys side, but another great year nonetheless, Sam. And now we'll take a look at the volleyball 4-3A bracket.
Yeah, I can't believe another soccer season is in the books here on Sports Path. But as you mentioned, we're going to talk volleyball. And as we saw on last episode, North St. Paul won the Metro East and earned a first-round bye in sections. In their first match, they took down Mahtomedi, leading to a rematch with Moundsview, one of the only teams to beat North St. Paul this year in a game you could have seen right here on SCC TV. Well, the Polars took care of business against Moundsview in the rematch to set up another section championship appearance. We also covered that game right here on SCC. And to bring you the highlights of the big game, I bring you, once again, John Miller.
All right, well, we'll take you to St. Paul Washburn, where this exciting matchup would go. We were anticipating this game all season for North St. Paul. So we'll take you to the first set, where Stillwater will go up 4-1 in the first set with a powerful hit by Rachel Houle. That would kind of be the story game for Houle, who had a great game. But North would go on a run and tie it up at 4 with a nice tip to the back of the line by Lauren Stedman, and North St. Paul would need her to step up in a huge way. North would keep it close with another light tip to empty the court, and that one was by Jenna Rebelke. Only down by 2 now for North St. Paul, but Stillwater surges ahead and takes the first set and a kill by Michaela Jardy. First set goes to Stillwater, 25-18. Now North would eventually tie the second set about midway through after Stillwater got a little bit of a lead. A quick 1-2-3 for the Polars, and Tally Martinez sends it down for a 16-16 tie. They would need her big presence up front. Now I'll take you again, tied at 21. North comes away with a nice block to gain their first lead in the match so far, 22-21. The North fans are going crazy. Their team's right back in it. Let's see how it'll end up. Now to finish it off, we'll go right off the serve. The Polars would get another huge spike. This one eventually going by Lauren Stenman, just hammering that one home. And that would get them match point, and this match is tied at 1-1. Stillwater takes the first, North takes the second. Let's see where we get in the third. Now Stillwater would go on an early run, 12-5 after this spike from Michaela Jardy, and North St. Paul really had no answer for Jardy. She had a nice speed, nice athleticism, and a crazy kill. And they would end up keeping the lead throughout the set. They take the third set 25-18 after Selena Rodriguez hits one out of the backcourt. Can't get much closer to that being in. But now we'll see if the Polars can come back in the fourth set. Starting to look good early on as Stillwater hits it out of bounds. North has the 2-point lead now in the fourth set, in a set they have to win. And North kept it close, but in the end, it was the same story. As I talked about, Rachel Houle was dominant the whole game. She gets Stillwater a 2-point lead midway through the fourth set. And Stillwater continues their run, 21-15 now after a big block there. And North St. Paul really had no answer for that tall front line of Stillwater. Now Stillwater continue to show their dominance with another big hit, 24-20, and we're looking at championship point for the Stillwater Ponies. And after the serve, Stenman comes up with a hit, but she'll block it down, and then the Polars recover, and Stenman set up for another spike, but she spikes it out of bounds, and the Ponies are your 4-3A champions. The Polars are once again defeated in the Section 4-3A finals, something they are all too familiar with over the years. Normally they're getting knocked out by Roseville, but this time it's by a very good Stillwater team. But what a great season for the Polars with only a few losses the whole season. First year head coach Stephanie Blanda leading that team to a great record, has to be proud of her team. Let's see what they can do next year. They were full of lots of juniors and sophomores, Sam. But I bet you next year they go on a state tournament run.
Yeah, they're going to be a team to beat once again. Nice season, but holy cow, that Stillwater team was pretty solid.
Oh, they sure were. They were just so tall. North St. Paul really just couldn't answer back. They're a shorter team who rely on their speed and some good spikes, and Stillwater had the answer for that, Sam.
Yeah, so unfortunately the Polars come up short, but another great year as they won the Metro East yet again, going undefeated, I might add, and compiling a very impressive 25-4 overall record. For the rest of your Fab Four in volleyball, we saw an improving Tartan team finish over 500 both in conference and overall. Mahtomedi may not have had a great year in the Metro East, but they were able to finish near 500 and pick up 12 wins on the year.
Yeah, now we'll take a little wrap up the fall season. It's hard to believe that this fall season is in the books, Sam. I can't really believe Mahtomedi did so well. The girls' state soccer title, boys' state football appearance. Oh, and let's not forget the tennis team, who we don't get to talk about much, finished third in the state 1 year after dethroning Edina as the state champs. So a lot of good going on at Mahtomedi in the fall. But let's not forget Tartan volleyball team is trending in the right direction. Their football team got a huge upset to reach the section championship, a place I did not think they would go, especially after beating a winless North St. Paul team. But always great times in this fall season, and I'm just glad to be a part of it.
Yeah, definitely, John. But alas, we have to move on. And before we head straight into winter sports, we'll pause for a moment and chat it up with one of your Fab Four activities directors on a new segment we like to call Hold the Phone. So this week we have Activities Director of Tartan High School in Oakdale, Brian Munter. Brian, thanks for joining us on your first edition of Hold the Phone.
Well, thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Well, Brian, Tartan traveled to Mahtomedi for the Section 4-5A football championship game, and as we saw earlier in the snow when we showed the highlights, we saw there was nearly 3 inches of snow on the field for the game. Have you ever seen a game played before with that much snow on the ground?
No, never seen anything like that. That was very odd walking up to the field and seeing the snowfall coming down. Wasn't expecting that much. And in talking with Tim Hickey, who is one of our assistant coaches that has also been coaching here for over 30 years, he said he's never been involved in a game like that. But kudos to Matamidi and their staff for the work they put in to make the field playable. By the end of the first half we played mostly 25-25 was clear, but the field was very playable. And then at halftime they cleared the rest of the field, so it really was a non-issue. But a great game, scoreless right till about 9 minutes left in the game, and it felt like whoever was going to score first was going to win the game. And unfortunately, it was Matamidi that got that first touchdown. But it was a great run for our team and a really good experience for our kids.
Yeah, Brian, we were calling that the Snow Bowl 2017. It was a great game to call, and it had to be a lot of fun for the players to play with all that snow. That definitely had to make the ball hard to hold on to for your Tartan Titans.
Yeah, I was glad we could get it in. And it actually, I don't think the weather was a major factor in the play and how teams, and that, like I said, kudos to Matamidi for getting it to that level. I mean, obviously you're going to have some difficult conditions in section playoff time for football, but ended up being a great game and a great season for us.
Well, this will sound funny after all that snow talk, but switching over to winter sports, Brian, I know Tartan loses some seniors from last year, Sam Lindahl and Brad Herzog, just to name a couple. What is the year going to look like for boys hockey this season?
Well, the one thing that's been established in our hockey program, and that came from both coaches and players, some of the kids that you mentioned, is just a culture of hard work, of preparing for the season beforehand, working in the weight room and summer ice and those types of things, but that has continued. That's a culture in that program. So when you have that established and that's what your kids are doing, you're going to be competitive and you are going to do well. And we expect that. We expect our boys team to have a real good season. We did lose some key components, but we have good components back and some newer players. So we're excited about that. Cole Leach is our new head coach, first-year head coach, longtime member of our hockey community, both in the youth program and our high school staff. And many are very excited about his hiring and the team this year. So I think we'll do very well and hopefully build on what those players that you mentioned and the rest of our seniors that left last year have built in that program as a culture.
Well, great news there, Brian, with the new coach hire. We look forward to another great winter season in all winter sports there at Tartan, and we want to thank you once again for joining us on your first edition of Hold the Phone.
Well, thank you. We really appreciate what you do for high school sports and the publicity you give and the exposure you give for our kids, and thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's our pleasure, Brian. We'd like to thank Brian again and all of our schools' activities directors for being so willing to open up their phone lines to us and giving us all that direct info. It's really a pleasure to have these guys on.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's only so much information you can find online about high school sports, so it's great to hear from the ADs themselves on some of these topics. And, well, that wraps things up for this segment. That was Tartan Activities Director Brian Munter on this edition of Hold the Phone.
Yeah, so as we mentioned throughout the show, winter sports is already here, and of course hockey is a big sport in Minnesota. We're also known to cover some basketball from time to time, but this year we plan on continuing our winter sports coverage by bringing you a wrestling match or two, as well as possibly an adapted floor hockey matchup. That'll be interesting, might be our first one ever. And we may not cover them often, but dance team, Nordic skiing, gymnastics, boys swimming, and diving are also starting up for the winter season. So don't forget to go out and see some of those sporting events. They could always use your guys' cheering. And starting out our winter coverage for this season, we got an exciting girls matchup to get to you guys for hockey.
Yeah, girls hockey matchup, a game we did here on SEC TV not too long ago. There it is. Matamidi Red Wing. We said it was an early season matchup. No records for either team. This was the opening game. And when the puck got behind the net, eventually it's going to find Kylie Krawczyk, and she's going to put it past the Red Wing goalie to make it 1-0. Matamidi onto the board first. Well, after a Matamidi player goes down, Red Wing forward Taylor Heisey picks up the puck and brings it right to the net to tie the game up at 1. So it was 1-1 after 1 early in the second period. A turnover gives Allie Franco the puck. She doesn't get a scoring chance herself, but centers it nicely for Anna Broughton for her second assist on the night, and that is Broughton's first goal, and she puts Matamidi back on top 2-1. A little bit later in the second, Taylor Heisey, a commit to the University of Minnesota, gathers the puck near the end of the second period. She takes it from the goal line to the other goal line and scores single-handedly to tie the game again at 2. You can see why the Gophers wanted her signature, and she will be attending the U of M next fall. Now on to the third. Third period is going to be all Red Wing. Eliza DiNatale bounces the puck off a Matamidi defender's skate in front of the goal, and it goes in for an early 3-2 lead there in period number 3. Then Taylor Heisey looking for the hat trick here. She takes the puck in and has a nice toe drag, but gets tripped up. No worries there. Teammate Nicole Oberding is on the spot there to pick up the puck and put it into the net for the 4-2 lead. You can see right there, nice finish from Oberding as it is 4-2 Red Wing. And with 5 minutes left, Taylor Heisey picks up the puck in the Matamidi zone again, skates it all the way down, and this time she will finish off the hat trick. That girl can skate. She's got the C on the sweater, and the Gophers are going to have one heck of a player when she attends next year. And that Red Wing squad is going to be pretty good. Nice fight from Matamidi, but they lose the opener 5-2 to Red Wing.
All right, so now we'll be taking you guys to a little bit of a girls season preview, something that's exciting to get into now that girls hockey is underway. Well, let's get you guys started in the Metro East. Matamidi is coming off a year in which they were second in Section 4A. The Zephyrs finished fourth in the Tough Conference, but the 1A school could always be a threat to go to the state tournament. And with the way things have been going at Matamidi, they just might, make the state tournament as well. And then North Tartan finished above 500 with 13 wins in their first year as a joint program. And White Bear Lake is looking to return to dominance in the Suburban East with what was a super good conference last year.
Yeah, and in boys hockey, Matamidi looks to improve on last year's state tournament appearance. The Zephyrs have added Corey Pilarski, and for you Sports Path fans, you might remember him last year, formerly of North St. Paul, and they should be strong once again. However, the Metro East will be as tough as ever with the likes of Hill Murray and St. Thomas Academy still in the conference. Tartan lost a lot of seniors, but had a very nice year last year, winning 17 games and finishing third in the Metro East. And White Bear Lake will be strong after this, strong again this year, I should say, after finishing third in a very tough Suburban East Conference last year. So I guess now we'll move on to basketball, and first let's start with the girls. And Matamidi was 20-3 last season, led by Emma Grouthouse with 19.1 points per game. Emma will be a senior this season and looks to lead her team to another Metro East Conference championship. And after being knocked out of the section tournament with a 41-39 loss to De La Salle, Matamidi hopes to storm past them and hopefully get the #1 seed again and a section championship. I expect them to go far into the playoffs and probably make the state tournament this year. All right, now moving to Tartan, who was 13-11 last season. Tartan loses a team leader, Zaria Whitlock. She produced 9 points per game last season. Although one Zaria graduated, another very important Zaria stays on the team and returns as only a sophomore. Zaria Chevre led the team with 12 points per game last season, and a loss to Creedon in the section tournament makes this team want to return with some fire. I see this team improving and getting past that first round of the section tournament this year. Now North is a team that has struggled a bit with only 9 wins in the past 2 seasons. Although Abigail Schweiler graduated this past spring, North looks to have a promising future behind freshman Alexis Pratt. She played on the varsity team last year as an 8th grader and led the team with 16.2 points per game on the season. And she will look to improve on that this year. And finally, White Bear Lake, coming off 2 straight years of state tournament runs, this White Bear Lake team has a lot to hold up to. Alexa Moline and Sophie Janicki have graduated, but younger sister Ella Janicki is back at it as a sophomore. Jordan Farrand also returns to the team as a senior. However, this team is not led by a single player or even a couple players. The key to this team is coaching and playing as a team, and I really think that Jeremy Coach Pose knows what he is doing over at White Bear. He has coached 2 slightly above average teams to state tournament runs in the past year, and that's where we hope to see them again this year.
Yeah, lots of exciting girls basketball that we get to cover this year. They were fun to watch last year, but now we're going to take a look at the boys basketball season. Let's see how your Fab Four schools are looking. Now we'll start with Mahtomedi after tying with Tartan for the Metro East crown with a 14-2 conference record, 22-3 overall. They're really stuck in an unknown spot. Their team was full of seniors last year. They're losing Parker Fox and his 23 points per game. That'll be tough to match. They lose their starting five. For them to be good, someone will definitely have to step up, and that's probably someone who's never even played varsity before. So it's realistic to imagine that this team has no more than 10 wins. Now we'll take a look at Tartan, tied with Mahtomedi, as I said before, a conference crown. They tied Mahtomedi with. They're in a little better shape. They did lose their top scorer, Jordan Horn, who's playing D1 basketball at Siena. Noah Whalen, who was their lights-out three-point shooter. They lost their whole starting lineup, but they still have junior Antoine Kimmins. Kimmins is just a junior who averaged 6 points per game last year as a freshman. He should be the backbone of this team, and he's being looked at by a lot of schools, and Tartan will likely be better than Mahtomedi, but not by much. It's about who is going to step up for this team, and that's really a bit of an unknown right now. It's probably going to have to be Kimmins. Let's go to North St. Paul. This team is in the best shape, I think, out of our Fab Four schools to take over for the Metro East crown. They finished 4th in the conference with an 11-5 record, but they are bringing back star guard Good News Capigal. He's averaged 20 points per game last year. That was actually 20.9, so he's very close to averaging 21. He was really the only reason they were any good, but they're also bringing back guard Bryce Phillips, who was their second leading scorer with 10 points per game. And their AD brought in coach Damian Johnson, former star Gopher player, small forward known for his defense, and he's going to try to get this team where they need to go, and I think he's got a good shot to contend for that Metro East crown. Now we'll take a look at our only Fab Four school that's not in the Metro East. We're going to go with White Bear Lake, who's in the Suburban East. Last year they did not do well, finishing 6-20. The silver lining, though, is that they were a young squad. They bring back 6'5" forward Blake Charles, who averaged 11 points per game last year. And they're also bringing back sophomores Sam Schwartz and Jeremy Beckler, who are both coming back after averaging 10 points per game. So this team has a lot of potential to flip that record around. They could grow a lot, and they're playing in a very tough conference, which has tough teams such as Creighton, with Daniel Oturu, Eastridge, and Woodbury. That's going to be tough, but I think they're going to try to put their dent in this conference, Sam. All right, so that wraps it up for our boys and girls basketball previews, and we're almost at that time at the end of the show, which means it's time for their Athletes of the Week. All right, for my male athlete of the week, this really wasn't that hard of a choice for me. After watching this Mahtomedi football game play against Tartan, I had to go with number 41 linebacker Ben Putney. He had 8 tackles, and that was also a huge contributor on defense for a team that shut out Tartan in the section championship. And boy, he had some huge hits. And for the girls, of course, I have to highlight the Mahtomedi soccer team. This team, we didn't give them enough recognition here early in the fall, but they had 4 players who made the All-State Tournament team after winning the championship. That was Abby Schultz, Audrey Sexton, Megan Clements, and Sonia Myers. So congrats, ladies, on your amazing season. And that's just about it for this edition of Athletes of the Week.
So very impressive stuff there from your Athletes of the Week. Unfortunately, as we've mentioned all throughout the broadcast, the fall season is wrapped up, but you'll have a chance to maybe see some of those athletes playing winter sports, and we'll take a look at some of our upcoming broadcasts.
Yeah, we start off on November 20th. We have the White Bear Lake versus Robbinsdale Armstrong girls basketball, and then what's going to be a huge matchup, Sam, on November 28th, we have Emma Roadhouse and the Mahtomedi Zephyrs going on to take Eastridge, which should be, I'm excited to broadcast that game.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll be a good chance for us to see that Mahtomedi team in action early on in the season. We're expecting big things from them, so that one should be very fun as well. Always got hockey here, Mahtomedi versus North St. Paul coming up, and then boys hockey, Hill Murray versus White Bear Lake there on December the 23rd. You want to circle that one. That's going to be huge, always is. Love the rivalry, and should be a great game.
A little Christmas treat there, Sam.
Yeah,
right before Christmas.
You got that right, got a present. Well, we want to remind you of our next episode of Sports Path 2 weeks from tonight, and I think that'll just about do it for us, John.
Yeah,
nice show.
Yeah, great job, Sam. You really put on a heck of a show.
Hey, thanks, man. We'll catch you all next time.
Brody Anderson to the end zone. Touchdown, Zippers. It's a 2-score game. Yeah, that's a big thing. You're going to be using a lot of program. There's a shot to go there. It's Kylie Crosby. Breaks the 0-0 tie. There's a center pass. Goal! All by herself. Nice with a nice little backhand score! We journey to serve. Send it across. Looking great. Stemmen again, too far. Championship goes to the Ponies.
That's it. Your Ponies are your second championship.